Okay, so let's mess with our samples. Now, the easiest way to start off with messing with your samples is to set up a loop. So let's look at how we set up a loop. Up here in this top corner, you can see a tiny little sort of half triangle there going, and if I drag that out, it will set a loop area, and this is the same in Reason, it's the same in Logic. So how do we allow that loop area to sit in exactly the right place? Well, this little blue box up here, if it's unhighlighted, will just move to anywhere you put it. If you click on it, it will set to a quantized position, and a quantized position helps you place things where you exactly need them to be. So up here I can see a 1 and an 8, and if I click on that, I see a whole drop down list of different positions that I may want to put my tune in. So if I just push 1 1, it is going to automatically snap to a beat on a bar. So I'm going to take it to the 9. So I got this blue box highlighted around the 2 breakbeats that I'm using. If by chance that I was unlucky enough to pull this the wrong way, it goes red. That means if you see the red box, that ain't going to loop. That's the wrong way round. So you need to make sure it's blue. I'll drag it back to the beginning, and I will drag it to the 9 position, so that's highlighted the 2 tracks. You can see this sort of dark shaded area as well. And now if I look at my transition bar, I've got this little arrow back, and that means loop. So what does loop do? Well, let's just play it. Oh, let's put the, if I stop and I push rewind and let's just play it again, it will show you what happens. Oh, and I got it muted, so here we go. So exactly the same, building up electronic music, we're going to build up some loops. So let's start to chop up this amen break. Let's chop up these 2 samples a little bit. So we are going to be using this blue button on, and we're going to be using this 1 snap bar. So we've got a series of different tools across the top. They all do slightly different things, but we're going to just worry about the scissor tool at this moment in time, and we are just going to click on it. And then when we look at Cubase, it gives us a little line, and it's just set to the quantized position that we set, which is the 1 1. So if I just snip, if I right hand click, no, if I left hand click on 2 areas, I've snipped either side of that breakbeat, and if I snip on this breakbeat, and I go back to my arrow tool, which is still in normal, so drop down by clicking on it, and you can see it's still in normal. I can swap these over, so I'm going to pull that one into that position by clicking on it and holding down. I'm going to click on that one and hold it down, and we'll play this back because we've just chopped up our amen a bit. So that's pretty cool. You're chopping up amen breaks, and you can chop up any other beat. Now the click track is still running. I don't really need this because I know I'm setting time and I've got beats, so my beats are going to be something I can play to, and I know they're in time. So I'm going to chop this up a little bit more just for interest. So I want to just make this end slightly different. Now if I go back to my scissor tool, I can only select the area down here. It won't let me select anything a little bit narrower. So I go back to my quantized position and I'll select a 4, a 1 4. Now I can select a slightly smaller area. So I'm going to select that area there, and I'm going to select that area there out of that breakbeat. I'm going to go back to my arrow tool, and I'm going to swap these 2 beats over as well. So let's have a little listen to what we got now. pretty happy with that, but I would like to just mess with it a little bit more. So I can now, by going down to that little box area, I can drag that one back a bit, and I'm going to go to the box area on this by clicking on it, seeing a little box. I'm going to drag this one back. Now I can hold down my control button and I can create the same version of the same bit of sample, and I can hold down my control button and make the same bit of the same sample there. Now I am going to swap those two over. Now let's have a little listen. Now I'm going to go one step further, and I am going to move this right down to the 16s, and I am going to zoom in on this end area. So I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to move this little slidey bar so I can see that last bit of sample, and I want this little bit of beat to repeat in 16. So I'm going to pull this one across, I'm going to pull this one back, and now I'm going to move this one over, and I'm going to hold down my control, I'm going to move one over, hold down my control again, move one over, move one over, oh no, go back, hold down my control, there we go. Right, now let's pull this one up a little bit and let's just listen to what happens now. So I've got a little stutter at the end, which is pretty cool. So I'm happy with my little amen break at the minute. I'm going to work in this little loop bar at the moment so that I don't complicate things. That's just a small loop and I can start to build up a tune. So what am I going to do next? I am going to go to this blue area, I'm going to left hand click, and I'm going to add an instrument, and I'm going to and I got no VST instrument here, so I need to click on that and I can see my VST instruments. Now I'll talk a little bit about VST instruments. VST instruments are originally made by Steinberg, but any company anywhere, you or I, could make a VST. We would have to ask Steinberg for their permission to do it, and then we can we can publish it, we can put it online, and we can use it. So we are going to look at a VST instrument, and I am going to look at a VST instrument made by Native Instruments. Now, Native Instruments make Tractor, which we've done a tutorial on already, and they also make one called Reactor. Now, we will also be doing Reactor tutorials. It's a very advanced piece of software, and I'm not going to go into Reactor right now, but what it's going to do is open up another machine inside Cubase. So let's click on Reactor and let's click OK, and what we're going to see is another machine open up, and Cubase itself has its own VSTs, and I'm running Cubase version 4. It's got the Halion in it, which is a great piece of software, but I'm going to run an external one which was made by another company, just to make things a little bit more interesting. And what happens is it opens up a box. Now it's opened up a box right between my two breakbeats, and I don't really want it to do that, so I'm going to move it down so my breakbeats stay together and my Reactor is in a separate box. Now let's have a look at Reactor, and to look at Reactor we need to click on this box. So no, we don't. Yes, we do. Go, 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 go. Rainbow of Death. Ooh, here we go. So Reactor has opened, and there is Reactor. Now this is a very complex piece of equipment, and I'm not going to talk about this now because it's just going to complicate things, but I know that I've got a really very cool bass machine in Reactor called Laser Bass. So if I click on my Laser Bass, it is going to open up and from Laserbase I am going to be able to play this in Cubase. Now unfortunately my computer is running a little bit more slowly than normal. This would open up pretty quickly on a normal day, but because I'm recording this at the same time, it's giving me the beach ball of death for a little bit. So let's have a little listen to what the synthesizer sounds. So I'm using my keyboard now to play this instrument. Cool. So I am going to run with just the original one that opens, just to make life easy. So I can now push play and start to jam some sounds over the breakbeats that I've cut up. Okay, so I kind of like that sound. I mean, it's not going to be a beautiful piece of music, it's not going to be the best drum and bass thing ever, but it's just showing you how to use it. So I am going to push play again on my time bar. I am going to push record after I push play, and what I'm going to see is in this area I'm going to see the record start to happen. This is the same in Reason, same in Logic, and I'm going to start to play my tune inside the loop, and when it loops back I'm going to start playing, and when it gets to the end of a loop I'm going to stop, because immediately when it loops back it's going to be recording over what I recorded. So I don't want to be recording double layers, it's just going to get really complicated and it's going to mess up my sound. So let's just do that. So I have recorded my bass line in, and in places I didn't play it very well. So what I can do, just push everything into time and where I wanted it, and where I'm doing a that's a quantized time of 16. So if I was just playing that one, that long line, and they were all long lines like these ones, then that would just be ones. But where I'm going that's a 16. So I know I'm on a 16. I am going to go to MIDI, and I'm going to go to over quantize, which is just going to click those little into time with my tune. So click it. Now let's listen back. Okay, so in the next tutorial we'll look at putting some effects on some of these sounds, so that we can bring out elements of the track. So